Hey guys, I'm doing deck tech on Kiki-Jiki right now. He is 5 mana, 3 red, 2/2, with haste. Put a token that's a copy of target non-legendary creature you control onto the battlefield. That token has haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. So Kiki-Jiki is one of the few mono red commanders that I play. He is exceptionally good at what he does, and he gives value to quite a few creatures in mono red. A lot of the creatures I have in my deck have enter the battlefield effects, so ETB effects that he abuses. It's also important to note that the token you put on the battlefield you sacrifice at the beginning of the end step, so it doesn't get exiled; it gets sacrificed, which means it dies. So that's important to some of the cards in this build. All right, I'll go through the mana base real quick. Pretty straightforward. I have 35 lands. I would say maybe 20 of them are basic mountains. I have all the fetch lands to fetch mountains. I also have Valakut of the Molten Pinnacle. This is my only tap land, but it's extremely useful when it gets online. If you control 5 or more lands, whenever a mountain enters the battlefield, you'll 3 damage to target creature or player. So it basically makes your mountains into lightning bolts, which is really, really nice. And I have many things in this deck that fetch lands. I'll show you that in a bit. Shrine to Nykthos, or Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx, is really good in mono decks. Sorry, just one second. Excuse me. Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx is really good in mono decks. It is exceptionally good in Kiki-Jiki because his casting cost is 3 red. So with anything else on the battlefield and Kiki-Jiki, it starts producing more mana than just a regular land. I also have Mishra's Workshop in here. Not too much to say about that. This deck has so many artifacts because mono red has sort of a small toolbox. It makes up for it in artifact utility, and I do have a lot of things to support artifacts in here, which I'll go through in a second. Then I have Ancient Tomb. Once again, really good in a mono deck, really good in any deck. It really shines in this one. So 0 cost artifacts, I have Everflowing Chalice and Mana Crypt. Everflowing Chalice is obviously pretty good when you get Mishra's Workshop. It's also nice that it comes in untapped. So a lot of the artifacts in here, you get to sort of drop 2 at the same time. You'll notice that I have a lot of 4-drops here. So I've loaded up on my 2-drop artifacts that create mana. That's so I can hit things like Ruination, Goblin Gardener, Avalanche Riders, which is all LD. This isn't necessarily an LD deck, but LD does play a major role in this deck. Okay, so Gamble, the one tutor that Red has access to. Not much to say about that. I use both Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast. Now, these cards counter a blue spell or destroy a blue permanent. These are cards that really shine in a competitive matchup, especially when you're playing against blue, obviously, but don't have much use out of it. Saying that, they win games. So that's why I run both of them. I also have another Kiki-Jiki version without my counter spells and without Price of Glory. But I much prefer playing this one if I'm just in a random matchup because they changed the game. If you find you're in a match and you don't need these spells, you're probably in a good place anyways. Shattering Spree, one of the best artifact removals. I also have Vandal Blast, which is good early game and late game. You really gotta get rid of that Soul Ring or Mana Crypt turn 1. I use Skred. This is 1 mana. It deals damage equal to the amount of snow permanents you control. So the only snow permanents I have in this deck are snow mountains. So basically it deals damage equal to the amount of mountains I control. I found it pretty effective. Lightning Bolt is good. The nice thing about Skred though is you can get bigger than Lightning Bolt, and usually, like, if they're dropping something on turn 2 that's a 2/2, Scred is usually big enough that you can just destroy it. Okay, so I run Mana Vault, Expedition Map, mainly to get Valakut, Reacher's Workshop, or Ancient Tomb. All are exceptional targets. What's nice about Expedition Map 2 is this deck is pretty fast when you ramp, so you can use it pretty early on. Skull Clamp, I'll go into some of the useful creatures that I use it on a little later, but it's amazing in this deck. Amazing, mainly because when Kiki-Jiki creates the token, if you put it on the token, because you sack it and it dies, you draw 2 cards. It's amazing synergy. Few decks, Skull Clamp shines as well. Soul Ring, not much to say. Visium Mortars, sort of a one-sided board wipe. Sting Scourger. I never really usually pay the Echo for this, but if you have Kiki-Jiki on the battlefield, you can just remove 2 other creatures at one time. It's fairly useful, and it only costs 2 mana, which is nice. Okay, so Cold Steel Heart, Felwar Stone, Fire Diamond, Grim Monolith, Iron Mirror, Mind Stone, Prismatic Lens, and Star Compass. These are all 2-drop artifacts I have to fuel out my 4-drops. Of course, they're good on their own, but you really want to be hitting these 4-drops. I'll go into those a little later. Thornbite Staff. This is interesting synergy. Thornbite Staff costs 2 mana, and it's a tribal artifact, which means that if this one's a shaman tribal artifact, which means that when a shaman enters the battlefield, I have the option of equipping this to it for free. So Kiki-Jiki is a shaman. This equips for free, and it has 2 mana. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature player. I don't usually use that, but its second ability is whenever a creature dies, untap this creature. That's really important because when Kiki-Jiki's token dies, the token that it makes off another creature, you can untap Kiki-Jiki, and you can make a creature on their turn, or on the end of your turn, and it will stay around for their entire turn. This is nice because many cards in this deck have entered the battlefield effects, so you'll get another trigger off that. And sometimes you can just combo off, like let's say if you have where are we here? Oh, if you have Goblin Sharpshooter, you can just make another one of them kill a creature on your opponent's board, get another one, and it just gets bigger and bigger. You can have a one-sided board wipe, or Siege Gang Commander with Skull Clamp. There's just so much synergy with this card. So if you're building Kiki-Jiki, this may seem like a weird include, but I highly recommend it. Okay, Blood Moon, not much to say there. 3 mana, non-basic lands or mountains. That quite often gets to concede. Chaos Warp, one of Red's most effective removals. Goblin Sharpshooter, this little guy's nice. He's 3 mana, and he whenever a creature dies, untap him. He deals 1 damage to target creature or player. This guy's sort of nice because if your opponent has 1/1s on the battlefield, it can kill all of the 1/1s. If you copy it with Kiki-Jiki, both of them can kill all of the 2/2s. So at no time, anything with toughness 2 or less. So your opponent won't have anything on the battlefield with toughness 2 or less. Imperial Recruiter, it fetches many things in this deck. Imperial Recruiter searches for cards with power 2 or less. So many cards. Siege Gang Commander, Clone Shell, where are we? Tuk Scrapper, Ravenous Baboons, Goblin Settler, quite a bit. Goblin Gardener, Avalanche Riders, and if you drop this on turn 3, you're setting yourself up for turn 4 LD. Unfortunately, it doesn't work with Zealous Conscripts. We have some things that get that. Wheel of Fortune, pretty straightforward. One of Red's only red draw spells. Feldon of the Third Path. Now this is a card that I'm sort of going back and forth on. Aerodaz, the guy that I build decks with, he highly recommends this card. So you can put a token on the battlefield that's a copy of target creature in your graveyard, except that it's an artifact in addition to its other types. So what's nice is you can make a token of that creature in the graveyard, and then you can make a token of the token with Kiki-Jiki, so you can get some added value. In this deck, you'll find a lot of your creatures die, just because it's red, it's fast. So this guy's a little bit nicer late game. He's only 3 mana. I'm testing him out. but Aerodaz is sold on the guy. Okay, some more ramp, Coalition Relic, Worn Power Stone. This little guy, Pilgrim's Eye, when he enters the battlefield, look for a basic land. He's nice to copy with Kiki-Jiki, just to get a mountain, especially with Valakut. He's also nice to put a sword on because he's 3 mana and he's a flying. I've used Pilgrim's Eye to recover from Armageddon's, and I can't take him out of the deck. I mean, he's simple. He does the job. I love him. Sword of Feast and Famine, Sword of Fire and Ice, pretty straightforward. Okay, we'll go through some of the LED things. Avalanche Riders, Goblin Gardener, Goblin Settler, and Ravenous Baboons. These are 4-drop creatures. Avalanche Riders has Echo that destroy a land, basically. It's great on tempo. It's even better if you have Kiki-Jiki out and you can copy them. Goblin Gardener is whenever he dies, so Kiki-Jiki's tokens activate with him, whereas Goblin Settler, which is a little bit better, activates when she enters the battlefield. So that's a little bit better than Goblin Gardener. Ravenous Baboons is non-basic land, so not as useful as the Goblins, but still extremely useful in EDH. And Avalanche Riders is destroy target land with an echo cost, but it has haste, which the 2 damage doesn't really matter. He's probably the worst out of these 4, but making a copy of him is just incredible value. Okay, I have Duretti in here. Duretti's sort of nice because I have so many artifacts. Recurring them is never a bad thing. It's also good because I can filter some of the things out of my hand. I do have 35 land in here, and sometimes that feels a little heavy with how much artifact ramp I have. Saying that, I do have some pretty high casting things, which I'll go through in a second. Outpost Siege, this card just came out. I'm really happy with it. It basically reads 4 mana, draw an extra card a turn that you have to use. So in red, you don't get too much draw. And this is something that, I don't know, helps with that. The second ability, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to our creature player. Although that isn't as good as the first ability, and I would probably only use it maybe 1 time in 15. It's not irrelevant in Kiki-Jiki because creatures will be leaving the battlefield every turn, so you can ping for 1. But if you're putting this card in, I would suggest using it for its +1, unless it's endgame. Sorry, not its +1, it's first ability, which is exile the top card of your library until end of turn. You may play that card. It's fantastic. Saying that, I still have Coercive Portal, obviously. With Mishra's Workshop, it just shines, draw an X card a turn. Not too complicated. Ruination. In EDH, this card really shines. Destroy all non-basic lands. It could hit some of your lands, but usually not. It's one of Red's I win cards. Tuk Tuk, he's 4 mana, artifact destruction. I like him because if you copy him right away, his ability triggers twice on the copy, because 1 when he enters and 1 for the other Tuk Tuk, so you can kill 3 artifacts for 4 mana with Kiki-Jiki on the battlefield. Koth is pretty good. His -2 is what I use him for the most. Untapping a 4/4 and making a copy of it is not horrible, but usually I would just use him as a mana battery. His -5 isn't irrelevant either, but quite often when you have a Planeswalker on the battlefield, your opponents change their tactics to kill it, and I find Koth acts a little bit like life gain on a stick, because I'd bring him out, and if he survives 1 turn, it's profit. That card has done what I wanted it to do. I minus it and bring out one of my fatties and close up the game. Gauntlet of Might, not much to say about that. Doubles your red mana, gives your creatures +1/+1 for 4 mana. It's fantastic. Colony Gem, just another ramp. Solemn Simulacrum. There are some cards in EDH that are good in any deck, and sometimes those cards shine exceptionally well with a certain commander. And I find that Solemn Simulacrum and Kiki-Jiki is just amazing. You copy him, you get an extra land, and then he dies and you draw a card. So that's every turn, ramp, draw land for free, or for 1 Kiki-Jiki activation. Thread Dynamo. Zealous Conscripts, as you all know, Zealous Conscripts combos with Kiki-Jiki to go infinite. Not much to say about that. If I have it in my hand, I'm going to play it, then I'm going to win if they don't have disruption. Yeah, it's hard to make a Kiki-Jiki deck without Zealous Conscripts. Siege Gang Commander, I go back and forth on this card. When it enters the battlefield, you put 3/1/1 goblins on. Its second ability is pay 2 mana, sacrifice a goblin, it deals 2 damage to target creature or player. And that's mainly what I use it for. Of course, it has good synergy with Skull Clamp. Yeah, just all around a good card. Clone Shell is pretty nice. 5 colorless mana, so it works with Mishra's Workshop. And you look for a creature on the top 4 cards, and exile it under Clone Shell. And when it dies, put the creature on the battlefield. What's nice with this is if you copy it with Kiki-Jiki, the clone dies at the end of the turn, so you can get the creature that you put under it. Of course, you're not always going to hit a creature. I run 24 creatures in this deck, so we're looking, I guess, 25% of the time. So on average, you get 1 creature each time you play Clone Shell. But it's almost a free draw every turn, so if you're not doing anything, Clone Shell is pretty nice. It's 1v games. Conquering Manticore. I have a hard time taking this out of the deck. 6 mana, steal a creature. It doesn't have haste, but you can make a token of it. So if you play this and activate Kiki-Jiki, you're getting 2 of their creatures, and you're getting another Conquering Manticore. So it can wrap up a game pretty fast. Inferno Titan, not much to say about that. It's a big fatty that does damage, then you copy it and it does more damage. It's pretty good. Duplicate works really well with Kiki-Jiki. You're exiling one of their creatures every turn. It works with Mishra's Workshop as well. Wormcoil Engine is one of those cards that I mentioned before that in a lot of decks is good, but in Kiki-Jiki it's even better. Because you sacrifice this token at the end of your step, you get the 2 3/3 tokens as well. So it has value after the first attack. Balefire Dragon. Sometimes I find myself gambling for this, just because it's a one-sided board wipe. When it hits, deals 6 damage to all creatures that player controls. Nullspile Dragon. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard your hand and draw cards equal to damage dealt to target opponent this turn. It's pretty good. Like I said, Red doesn't have a lot of draw spells, but I've found this giving me second win for a game. Tyrant of Discord is another card that I really like in this deck. People get so salty when you play this card. It's 7 mana, and target player sacrifices their permanents until they sacrifice a land, and it's random. So of course with Kiki-Jiki you're just doing some major damage. What's nice about Tyrant of Discord too is because Red doesn't really have an effective way to get rid of enchantments, except for Chaos Warp maybe. This is one of the few ways that you can get rid of them, and it's pretty effective. Karn, not much to say about that. You ramp into it pretty quickly with a lot of the cards in this deck. Slam it out. Mirror Battlesphere. Just get a bunch of tokens with Kiki-Jiki. And then finally, Ugin. This card or this deck is fairly artifact intensive, so when you play Ugin, usually it doesn't hit you very hard. And even then, if you have to -5, if you have 8 mana, you're probably not too worried about exiling Kiki-Jiki because you could probably just bring him back next turn. But in any deck that I would play with heavy artifact themes, Ugin does fairly well. Kiki-Jiki is one of my favorite decks to play. He's so fun. He hits so hard, and he is fairly competitive in 1v1 scenarios. Control players, you play them sometimes, and they just don't know what to do with him. He hits so hard and so fast. So I highly recommend